When we think of a genius, what comes to mind? Probably someone who's won the lottery of life, right? A golden ticket to success and happiness. But what if that's not the whole picture? What if having that extraordinary intelligence actually comes with a hidden and often really heavy price? Okay, let's get into it.
So that's the big question we're tackling here, this fascinating paradox. We're going to look at the data, the psychology, all of it, to try and answer why a super high IQ can feel more like a burden than a gift. And I think the answer might just change how you think about intelligence itself.
Let's just start with some pretty shocking numbers. A study looked at over 3,700 Mensa members, so we're talking people with IQs in the top 2%, and what they found was wild. Just look at this. The rates of mood and anxiety disorders more than double the national average. But here's what really got me, the physical stuff. Environmental allergies are 4 times more common, and autoimmune diseases are over twice as likely. This isn't just in the mind, folks, it's happening in the body.
So where does all this come from? How do we even start to unpack this? Well, our first stop is to understand something we'll call the genius paradox. It's all about the unique way a gifted mind actually experiences the world, and it really sets the stage for everything else.
Okay, so this is the absolute key point right here. It's not that gifted people are just smarter than everyone else. It's that they have a fundamentally different quality of experiencing reality. It's kind of like their brain is running on a completely different operating system. And when your perception of the world is that raw and that intense, well, it can be incredibly isolating. It's the very first crack that can separate you from feeling understood.
And that feeling of being isolated, it's not just in their head. It's actually a real, measurable thing. Which brings us to our next section, where we're going to explore this invisible wall that can totally cut off the gifted from any kind of meaningful social connection. His psychologist named Letta Hollingsworth gave us a huge piece of the puzzle here, the IQ communication barrier. The theory is basically this. Once you have an IQ gap of more than about 30 points between two people, real, effective communication just kind of falls apart. And this is so important. It's not about using big words or being condescending. It's a fundamental mismatch in how their brains are wired to think.
Now that number, 30 points, is a huge deal. Statistically, we're talking 2 standard deviations. That's a massive gulf in how people process the world. A person with a high IQ might be juggling multiple complex ideas all at once, while someone with an average IQ might think more linearly. It creates this disconnect that's just almost impossible to bridge.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head when it comes to the human cost of this gap. It's not some abstract concept. It creates real friction and frustration. Each person feels misunderstood. The gifted person feels alone, and the average person feels looked down on. It's just a perfect recipe for social disaster.
So what do you do when you keep hitting that communication wall over and over again? Well, you learn to hide. It's called social masking, and it becomes this exhausting, full-time job. You literally learn to dumb down how you talk, to avoid topics that are too complex, all just to make other people comfortable and to avoid making them jealous. It's a really painful way to silence yourself.
So, what's the result of all this? This constant high-speed processing and this draining social masking, all that internal stress, it doesn't just stay in your head. It has to go somewhere, right? It spills over, and it has a profound effect on the body. This is where we get into the whole hyperbrain, hyperbody theory.
The big idea here comes from a psychologist named Dabrowski. He came up with this term overexcitabilities to describe the supercharged nervous system that a lot of gifted people have. Imagine your nervous system has a volume knob, and for these folks, it's just permanently cranked up to 11. Every single thing, sights, sounds, and motions, is just felt with way more intensity. And Dabrowski broke them down into 5 types. You've got psychomotor, that's that constant need to move, that restless energy. Sensual, which is a super heightened awareness of your 5 senses. Intellectual is that non-stop drive to ask why and figure everything out. Imaginational is about living in these incredibly rich, detailed inner worlds. And then there's emotional, feeling everything, the good and the bad, on a level that's just incredibly deep. And this is where things can get really tragic, honestly. Because these innate traits, these overexcitabilities, are so often misunderstood by the rest of the world as some kind of disorder. For example, that intense curiosity and physical energy looks a lot like ADHD. That laser focus on one topic combined with social awkwardness can be mistaken for autism. And those deep, powerful emotions, they just get slapped with a label like a mood or anxiety disorder, completely missing the real reason behind them.
And this is the whole idea behind the hyperbrain, hyperbody theory.
It's simple, really. A brain that's always on, always firing at full speed, creates a body that's also on high alert. The body's immune system and nervous system go into overdrive. So a hyperbrain leads to a hyperbody. And that brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? It's a powerful way to explain those crazy high rates of allergies and autoimmune diseases we saw in that Mensa study.
Now, what happens when you take a mind that's always in overdrive and you combine it with the ability to think really deeply about abstract concepts? You inevitably crash headfirst into life's biggest, scariest questions. And this creates a very special kind of suffering, the deep existential burden.
Now we have to be super clear here. This is not the same as clinical depression. Existential depression doesn't happen because of a chemical imbalance or something bad happening in your life. It happens when your brain is so powerful that it accurately sees the harsh realities of the world, like mortality and the search for meaning in what can feel like a random universe, and you feel this profound despair because of it.
This table makes the difference crystal clear. Regular therapy often tries to fix what it sees as broken or distorted thinking. But what if your thinking isn't distorted at all? For the gifted person struggling with this, their thoughts are logical, they're rational, they're just also really distressing. Their pain comes from seeing things too clearly, which is why standard treatments can feel totally useless.
And this quote, man, it just perfectly captures that internal voice. That's not an irrational thought, it's a full-blown philosophical crisis. If your brain is wired to find patterns and meaning, what do you do when you confront the idea that maybe there isn't any? It can be absolutely devastating.
So, when you're living with all this pressure, the isolation, the intensity, the existential dread, it makes sense that you develop some pretty advanced coping mechanisms. And sometimes, well, sometimes they can be kind of dark. Which brings us to our last section, the dark side of emotional intelligence.
All right, check this out, because this is totally counterintuitive. A study found that students who scored high on intellectual arrogance, they agreed with statements like, "My ideas are superior," they actually got better grades on their individual schoolwork.
But, and this is a big but, that confidence comes with a huge social cost. Yeah, you might ace your test, but that same arrogance gets you terrible reviews from your classmates on group projects. People see you as bossy and hard to work with. So you see the trade-off, right? You get individual success, but it just pushes you deeper into that cycle of isolation.
And this is where it can get really chilling. High intelligence often means you're great at reading people, understanding what makes them tick. That's cognitive empathy. When it's used for good, it's amazing. But when it's weaponized, it becomes a tool for manipulation. It's using empathy not as a bridge to connect, but as a weapon to find someone's weak spots and exploit them.
So how do you protect yourself from this? How can you spot someone doing it? Well, here are a few red flags to watch out for. Their charm feels like an act. You might find that you just feel worse about yourself after you talk to them because they're subtly putting you down to get an advantage. They use things you've told them in confidence against you. And their empathy just feels strategic, It doesn't feel real. Which brings us back to the big picture. We've gone on this whole journey through the isolation, the intensity, and even the dark potential of the gifted mind. So after seeing all of this, understanding the incredible internal weight that can come with genius, how can we look at it, whether it's in other people or maybe even parts of it we see in ourselves, with a little more wisdom, a little more patience, and a lot more compassion? That feels like something worth thinking about.